Okay, there we go. Um, Welcome, everyone. I apologize for every misstep and mistake that I make. I have changed, I think, almost my entire setup in the last hour. So I have changed the SATA cable for my hard drive. I've changed the IDE I'm using. I've changed my streaming software. I've changed how I'm streaming. We've added YouTube and Facebook. Huzzah! So, yay. Just figured I'd give it a try and see how it goes. Tonight, we are going to go through and take a look at .NET 5 source generators. They look cool and awesome, and they are the new shiny tool. And so, naturally, everything looks like a nail, and I want to go through and find a new use for it. So, we are going to give that a shot, specifically with a project called Show Me the XAML, which is something that I have used inside of the material design project. So for those people looking for an update on material design, 3.11 is out. 3.12 is probably forthcoming very soon. There's a couple small issues to be ironed out, but there have been a significant number of community contributions, so I see no reason to hold it back. So as soon as I get a little time to test it, it will probably get kicked live. We may end up doing a stream automating out the release process because there's still some steps like generating the release notes that are very manual, and I am very lazy. So ultimately, the goal will be to script away my laziness. So with that said, let's jump over here. Oh, it works! It works! I got it going. Okay, so where we are starting today with this. So I will dump this in the chat for those people who are interested. Hey, Josh. Welcome. I apologize. I realize I started streaming this on my personal Facebook and didn't really warn people of what this was or where it was coming. So this is mostly Kevin doing coding stuff, but please stick around if you find it interesting or you just want to hear me ramble. Sometimes I wear pretty wigs. Hang on. There. That does not look good on a white background. That's better. That's better. We'll do that. There. Now I can have white background and still have pretty wig. Though apparently the pretty wig and my green screen are not agreeing with each other very well. That's okay. That is okay. So tonight we're going to take a look at this, the source generators in C#. So this is a brand new preview feature, emphasis on preview. So this is coming in .NET 5. And so to actually go through and use this feature, you have to install .NET 5 preview and Visual Studio preview. So just be aware, that's the prereqs for where we're starting. I'm glad to hear that you like my ramblings, Alex. So ultimately what this comes down to is previously the Roslyn team has not given us a way to manipulate the code in the middle of a compile step. Right? You could do MS build tests to manipulate your code either before or after, but never right in the middle. And ultimately that's what this gets us down to. So you can see this here. Compilation starts, it generates out effectively the AST, the compilation tree. You get to do some manipulation and generate new source code. I shouldn't use the word manipulation. You get to generate new stuff. This isn't manipulation of your existing source code. You generate some code and then compilation resumes. And more importantly, you get this without the overhead hit of reflection, which is awesome. Or at least that's the goal of this, is to do it. So a lot of times people use reflection because they want dynamic generation of code and there's not a clean way to do it. So reflection is an easy way to effectively generate out a bunch of stuff. Granted, that's only one use of reflection, but that's ultimately the problem that these source generators aim to solve. They are not as powerful as things like IL weaving. So some people have seen my AutoDI project that I love to play around with, which is dependency injection with ridiculous amounts of IL weaving and just flat out cheating. This is not that. People who are familiar with PostSharp or Foddy, those would be the other, or Foddy. I don't know how to say. It's the same as the bird, and I don't know how to pronounce that one either. I'm sure somebody will correct me. but anyone who's familiar with those tools, this is not up to that same level. This is just, I take in what's being compiled, I generate some new code, my generated stuff gets included as part of the compilation, which is great. That's what we want. So yeah, examples of things that can use it on, yada, 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 yada. Hello world, because why not generate hello world with source generators? So I will probably come back to this a lot, but let's go and look at what I'm hoping to automate. So key thing to note, Visual Studio 2019 preview. I'm in the preview, and as this is a preview, I've done almost no setup to this. I did enough extension installs to make my font big, and I changed my theme to dark, and I logged in. That's about it. Then I stopped. So first of all, because we are not crazy, we put our Solution Explorer on the left, because darn it, that is where it belongs. So Show Me the XAML is a project that I built for the Material Design and XAML project, and I will show you its usage. As soon as I find it. So inside of the demo application for Show Me the XAML, and I'm not entirely sure what state this compilation is in, so we're just going to wing it and see what happens. So when building out WPF applications, we've got this pretty demo app that goes through, and it's got all of the wonderful color features, and you can see all the pretty buttons and everything. And naturally, the first question that comes around is, well, that's great. How do I put that in my own application, right? And so there's this little button right here that says View the XAML. You click it, and it shows you the XAML that generated this little bit of code. So there's a lot of other tools out here who have done things like this, where they've built out similar things, because this is a fairly common ask, right? Of, I want to show this. The problem is most of the time when people build these, they are forced to try and keep something in sync, right? The thing used to generate this isn't necessarily the same source code that's used to generate this. And so what Show Me the XAML does is, as part of the build process, it goes through and it generates out a huge dictionary. A huge dictionary where the values are this bit of text, and the keys are defined by a little wrapper control that goes around this. And so once it's built that dictionary, at runtime then, when you click this button, it can go and look up what the appropriate code is and show you it, and it is the same code that was used to generate this. So as you make changes to this, all of this stuff just automatically updates, and it just works, which is great, right? That is the issue with, or why it was built, right, is to have that feature. So ultimately, this guy here, let's see, so the base library has this control in it. Let's just not dock this guy, right? And this has all of this. It does the init stuff where it loads the dictionary, and the key part is this key. Let's see, do we have a sample app? I think I've actually got it. Hang on one second. I think I've actually got a sample app for Show Me the XAML. Examples. Hey, that sounds like what I want. Multiple versions of Visual Studio. What could go wrong, right? What could go wrong? So we'll fire this up and take a look at the demo and see. But ultimately, this guy here, when it runs as part of the build, specifically this MS build task, this guy gets kicked off. And down in here, he does a whole bunch of work because he's going to get past the list of XAML files that are going to get compiled, right? And it'll go through, and the XAML files are just XML, so it loads them up as an X document and then iterates through them to parse them out. Thank you, Heather. I appreciate it. I'm glad to know people just watch to see what weird thing I'm going to do. I should get my hat, too. I've got a hat and a beard to go with it, but I won't spoil it. So for people who are interested, and I should really have the link for it. Let me see if I can find it real quick. There is, unfortunately, a newsletter coming out very soon from my company, and they asked permission. I will say that. And there's a picture of me, my hat, my wig, the beard, the whole 9 yards. So for people on Facebook, you've probably seen it already. And I wish I knew. I should have that link ready. I have no idea where. There's a sign-up link somewhere for the newsletter. Ah, our newsletter. This button. Ha, I found it. Click here to subscribe. Ha, poof. There we go. I get points for that. I realized that unfortunately the Facebook chat is one way for me, which is disappointing. I need to look into why that is. I apparently cannot send chat messages from Restream out, which is disappointing. But there is the link. Okay. We were doing sample application, to which this fired up here. Glad to know that that load failed. That instills a ton of confidence in me. We're just going to run this and realize that it's in a completely broken state. Let's see. Was not imported due to the file being missing. That's exciting. So apparently I've left my demo project in a very broken state. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, so I'll add that to my list. This is ultimately a test to just see if they can work. So my goal here is, rather than taking in and generating an MS build task and having to generate these files, because ultimately what happens is it processes all of these XAML files, right, and builds up this whole dictionary, and then it ends up returning back this XAML object, right? This has nothing to do with actual XAML, right? And this guy is just a small POCO key data, right? So it's just the key of what this is going to be. And then it builds up, with string concatenation, mind you, this file called show me the XAML dictionary.g.cs, right? So if we go and look at the material design project in my OBJ directory, I should see something akin to this, all right, buried in here. Something in here. So here's this guy, right? We'll just open a third IDE, because what could go wrong? What could possibly go wrong? Right? And if we do bigger font, right? So ultimately the code that gets generated is just this magical dictionary, right? So set call, key, and then a big long value thing, right? And so it builds up all of this stuff so that it has a way of going through and displaying it. And that's it. It's no more fancy than that, which is kind of cool, right? And I believe at the very bottom of this thing, you'll see long, big swaths of stuff. Long swaths of stuff. And then ultimately, at startup time, what ends up happening is you call this XAML display init right as the program starts, and this is ultimately where it goes walking through and uses reflection, right? See, looks through the assembly, says, hey, I'm looking for a show me the XAML dictionary class, tries to pull that out, and away we go. Thank you, John. It looks like a brick of text to me. I'm realizing that streaming to Facebook means that I'm getting a whole lot more snarky remarks from people, which I'm not sure if that's good or bad. At least it's interesting. And I have Mountain Dew. I am realizing, yes! I was curious what a green Mountain Dew can and my green screen were going to do to each other. That's kind of fun. Because what could go wrong? What could go wrong changing everything? For reference, John, I think I fixed the hard drive thing about 20 minutes ago. We'll see. If my stream cuts out, you'll know. Didn't get the hard drive fixed. Okay. So let's go back to where we started, right? So we want to do something where I replace this MS Build project, right, with something that uses source generators. So that is what we are looking to do, because I would like to go through and have this work. So what did they do? So I haven't actually... I just got iced. So I haven't actually gone through these samples. Again, I was busy getting other stuff ready. So I'm not entirely sure exactly what is required for this. So these two don't surprise me. This is a Roslyn NuGet package specifically for manipulating C# stuff. They say elsewhere in this article that F# and VB will be coming later. I don't know if they said exactly what later means. But for now, this is what's here. The key pieces of this is the project can generate a NuGet package, and it depends on the bits that enable source generators. Okay. Great. What is this doing? So it is adding an extra source for being able to restore. Okay. That's fine. I'm wondering if some of these beta things are off in that other project. Generates a source generator. Okay. Add generated source generator to code compilation. So I think what I need to do is just start off with a new project that matches this. Okay, simple enough. We'll start there. So file new project, or right click new project. Let's see. Net standard. What is it? Lib. I've done this so rarely that I've already forgotten. Okay, so we're going to do show me the XAML generator. And I don't remember, my projects are just at the root, so that looks great. Go Gadget. I think by default, let's see what it gave me. So it gave me a net standard 2.0 project, so that's pretty close. Come back here. Next, we need lang version preview, because this is what enables you to actually run preview stuff. So for example, proof is in the pudding. Oh, love that zoom. Love that zoom. Thank you, Windows Terminal team. So you'll note .NET version. I have the preview. That's important. You're welcome, John. I'm happy to help people sleep. Let's see here. Let's see. So property group. Guessing this is just a temporary bit while we get everything going, and then we'll do the NuGet packages. So great. When in doubt, copy paste, format, and clearly, okay. I've got to fix a few things. My indentation is off, but the fact that I can't see white space is really bothering me. View white space on. Ah! Look at all those tab characters. Resist the urge. Resist the urge. Okay. Must not touch them. Tabs are okay. If I say it enough times, it'll be true. Okay. So something about my generator, and then it builds it out. And this, I think I'm just going to copy in their full example at the end. Yeah. So we're gonna start with this. We're gonna bring this in, and then we're gonna change it. We're going to do lots of changes. So first of all, bring this in, autocode for me, change namespace. Okay, so that gets there. Hello world generator. How about not that? How about something more like XAML display dictionary generator. That's long and hard to spell. Okay, so we get a string builder, great. We get contexty stuff. We get syntax trees, which I don't think we're going to care about. And then we append and we do stuff. Great, don't care about any of that. So the key bit that I think we care about, that we actually care about, right, is there is a sample buried in here. I think it might be either, I was going through these links before to make sure that I wasn't going to shoot myself in the foot. Worth noting, so this source generators cookbook, this does have a good explanation of exactly what this is and what this is not. So before you go too crazy on this, make sure to take a look at it. This is not, is it back in the main? Source generators and previews. What's up next? Blah, blah, blah. There is a, yeah, there is something around being able to pull in. Okay, I know I saw it, and I'm fairly confident the answer is going to be right here. So it's context. additional files. So in general, these things are extra files that go along with the project, and I believe the XAML files will be in here. This is the hope. I don't know that for a fact, so we're going to just have to try this. More importantly, I would love to write a unit test over this, and I don't know how. I haven't looked at this guy, and this, hoy vey. Hoy vey. So a read-only struct, that'll be fun, with a bunch of auto properties. And more importantly, a lot of these things are Roslyn types, which means there's a wee bit of bootstrapping that needs to happen in order for this to work. So for anybody who wants to know what that bootstrapping looks like, 2 weeks ago, I did a stream with John Sequoia, looking at building a Roslyn analyzer for system command line. And in that, if you generate up the analyzer projects, the stuff that gets auto-generated with the bootstrap will show you the significant amount of stuff that goes into actually taking one of these things and building it out. Might need to go back and look at that. I think for now what I want is I just want to gen a project and test it there. I think that's what I want, right? So let's jump back here. I think their sample, add the source generator to a project. Right. So they're just doing a project reference, so we can do this in line. Okay, so add new project, and we will just do WPF project. .NET Core sounds great to me. Show me the XAML generator test. I don't want. Normally you put the S on the end, but it's not a unit test project, so meh. Good enough. Okay, so and then we need to do something akin to this. This is not a normal. So note, this is not a normal project reference. It needs additional output item type and reference output assembly attributes. Got it. Not a normal one. I understand. Look at that. Spaces. Not tabs. Spaces. Makes me happy. Ah! It's the default editor settings. Grumble, 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 grumble. Must fix. Must fix. Sure, reload all. Oh, I know. Okay, I know you're not going to find it because it's not there, right? So this is going to be .whack. Show me the XAML generator, and then same thing for the CS proj name. Save, reload project. Yeah. Operation could not be completed. Oh, come on. What is your problem? The element project reference beneath project item is unrecognized. Did I put it in the wrong place? Oh, it's supposed to be inside of an item group, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, so you got to do this. Item group, item group. Boom. Now reload. Ho ho ho. It's loaded. It's working. It's working. It's working. Okay. So this guy generates hello world. Let's just get this sample working first. All right, so first of all, build. Probably should have verified it built first, but go for gold. Okay, that compiled. Why do you still have a... I don't know why it's squawking about that. But it built, so we're going to just see if we can do this. Some class in my code, some method I have. So I can go write some method. I'm good at writing some method. Sometimes. So let's just go into our main window, and I guess I don't even need, well, here, we'll put it as its own method, right? Some method I have. I can go for my best Anakin impersonation, John, but I just don't know if it's gonna quite work. Hello world generated. So I'm not entirely sure what's supposed to happen here. Do I build and it just works? Yeah, so that doesn't work. So that's fun. When you write your code in Visual Studio, you'll see that the source generator runs and the generated code is available to your project. It's working! It's working! That's the best I got. You can now access it as if you created it yourself. But it's not working. Oh, right. Lang version. I bet you. I'm also curious if, like, I'm noticing that this sample project was not in WPF. So there's a very good chance this just falls over. Rebuild? I'm confused. Okay, I'm going to unload and reload because that little yellow arrow concerns me. So it's clearly found the project. What be its problem with me? What be its problem with me? You're welcome, John. So it's targeting Net Core 5, which is cool. I didn't even consider the fact that a WPF app would be targeting the wrong thing. So why work? Why work? This goes in the top level property group. We got that. Top level property group, Lang version preview. Check. This as a new item group, replacing paths and names appropriately. We replaced the names appropriately. It was able to find the project. Okay, very confident in that. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. If you've written a Roslyn Analyzer before, local development experience should be very similar. Yep, except for there's no bootstrapping unit testing stuff yet. That's okay. When you write your code in Visual Studio, you'll see source generator runs and generated code is available. No, you will currently need to restart and get rid of the errors with the early tooling. Got it. Okay, so I'm going to go with that's probably part of the problem. And when in doubt, you should always read the directions. Go ahead and delete that from the shortcut. Why do I have two shortcuts to the same thing? I only have this project cloned in one place, so I have no idea what it's doing. So let's take a look here. And I'm just going to check. Make sure everything is okay. Seems okay. So, look at that. It turns out reading the directions might actually be the key. This guy here. So let's. Oh. That feels like a design time build just kicked it off. Build one more time. Okay, I'm very confused with the fact that it seems to think that this is here. Syntax highlighting claims that it's there. But it is simultaneously not there. Okay, so that should. Okay, I'm now I just have to start poking. Where would this get generated? So does this generated code? How do it know where to write the file? So it writes this hello world generator. Source builder 2 string 2 UTF-8. So Does it just stay in memory the whole time? Let's look. Let's just do a... I got nothing on disk with that name. Okay, there was a step in here about debugging it. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Generate files based on serialized classes. Yeah, the iNotify property change boilerplate, eliminating that. That sounds awesome. If I don't see somebody write one right away, I will be building one because if nothing else, I want it. Let me look back over here because I think one of these links had a very good example of using XML files. So create a generator, create missing type when run. Generator, generate class, additional files. This is what I was looking at. All right, so this is going through, grabbing all the additional files with path XML, which is initially what made me think that I could go through and do this with XAML files, which is what I would like to prove out after we get this thing working. Let's try rebuilding this first, then try rebuilding this. Wonder if there's an order of operations. Still very unhappy with this, despite the fact that this is clearly what it is doing. Now, how does one debug this? I think there was a line in here about putting in a debugger break. Is that? Ahaha. In terms of debugging, the only way is to attach a compilation that's running the generator. A quick and dirty approach is to add debugger launch in your initialize method. Well, yes, I understand you realize it's not an ideal situation. This is a preview. I'm okay with this. All right, so system diagnostics, please, semicolon, rebuild. And then I think that means when I build this guy, interesting, it's like the generator isn't being invoked. Okay, so we're going to try one more thing. So we're going to boil this down to a dummy level project. So console app, right? Something simple, something easy. Let's see about doing this inside of a console app and get that much working. Then circle back, right? So Lang version preview. All right, so that guy's there. We need this lovely bit of code. And the tabs and mixed spaces are causing me to break out in hives, but that's okay. And then to fix this, we restart Visual Studio because reasons. Look at that. I wonder if that's a bug. It seems to keep adding items to my quick launch, and then one of them isn't correct. Yeah, it's like one of them points to the correct directory and one of them is a directory too deep. Interesting. Okay, so now we build. And you work like a charm. Right? Everyone's happy? I haven't done anything. Oh, look at this. Look at this. See, this is what we wanted. Cancel. Okay, so that at minimum is enough to tell me that now it's hitting my code. Whereas before, it wasn't. And I don't know why. Why work. Oh. So before we get too carried away, let's just check the obvious one. Is there a big warning about WPF not working in this article? Oh, hold on. There's a line on WPF. Many frameworks and libraries make heavy use of reflection. Yes. There's got to be. I'm just wondering if usually it's right about at the end where they say, and by the way, here's the current limitations. What to source generators? Don't care. Should I delete all my reflection code? Different from analyzers. Can I change the target framework moniker in a source generator? Net standard 2.0 components today. Compatibility concerns. Why do I not get IntelliSense for generated code? Navigation and debugging. How do I ship? Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so that doesn't say I can't do it. That doesn't mean it will work. Okay, so let's go back. Now that the console app clearly worked, right? Let's just verify, right? So let's get it. Let's go all the way. Sorry, it's popping debugger windows over there. Something is clearly really, really wanting to execute. And I'm wondering if... Are you going to build now? Oh, it compiled. And more importantly, I am now getting lots of debugger prompts. Okay, this is both good and absolutely terrifying all at the same time. Okay, so when in doubt, relaunch Visual Studio. Kill that off, please. Rebuild, please. Please, please, please stop popping that. Okay, so maybe we're working? Question mark? It's still popping this. I'm wondering, I bet you it's the fact that MS build processes stay alive. I bet you if I, hang on. Here's what we do. We go here, task kill, search by image name, ms build.exe, nuke. Could not be terminated. Well, yeah. I really, really want you to die. Okay. Now if I rebuild, no debugger prompt. No. An unhandled exception. I broke it. Okay, so this might be slow going then. This might be slow going. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to move this guy up to here. Right? We're going to take this. We're going to put this guy. Yeah, so this guy here is now firing the just-in-time debugger. It's getting really obnoxious, by the way, to have it constantly firing. We're going to invoke this. And I might just have to restart Visual Studio and make these stupid debugger launch prompts go away. Static. Stop being bad. Okay. So we're going to rebuild. I don't know. We're going to relaunch Visual Studio. This is going to be exciting. I may end up having to separate out these two projects. If nothing else, just to have them in different dev env processes. Because this is getting annoying. That way I don't have to restart the whole thing. I mean, it's not bad. Visual Studio is starting quick. Okay, so we are going to build this one. You should compile, right? Source generator should make this method be a thing. Okay, build success. Now the WPF app, build. Thinking. This guy's still unhappy. Thank you, Tiff. What the heck? Okay, no idea what's going on there, but we are going to set this guy as our startup project, and I want to see this guy run. All right, so what exactly does this generated code do? So it comes in here, hello world from generated code, the following syntax trees exist, blah, blah, blah. So it does a bunch of console write lines. Okay, so go, and let's see what this thing actually generates. So step over. I should have a bunch of output. The following syntax trees exist. Oh, Mikey, your name looks remarkably like Tiff. So I have 3 syntax trees, which makes sense because I have a standard console app. So my program CS, the auto-generated assembly attributes, and an assembly info. okay, I'm going to trust it because I'm fairly confident these things get generated. So I'm inclined to believe that that is accurate. So console app works. But my goal is for this to work in a WPF app because that is where the coolness is. Okay, so let's try this build again, and we might have to go through and play with this a little bit. So hello world does not exist. So I want to get you compiling. Let's get you back in a working state without this. So I have a sinking suspicion I know what's going on in that I may go spin a framework. So first step, ms build output. Let's see. What is it? ms build logging level. Oh, that's not up-to-date checks. This is different. Let's go info. I think that's what I want. I want to see the execution of this guy because that is not what I'm after. Okay, let's go back here. So ms build output verbosity. This is what I want. I don't want you to be minimal. I want details. Details. Give me the details. There are things happening and I need to know what they are. Okay. So I think we can start with generator. Reading project. Generator test. Probably would have been helpful if I hadn't named these things identically. So where is the execution of this guy? So I wonder if this guy will give me a hint. Well, let's just start with this. It'd be really great. Ooh. This is exciting. So this guy is getting picked up. Check for duplicate items. Okay. Core items compiler. Yeah, see, this is what I was worried about. The WPF XAML compile has 2 passes. And I've been bitten by this before. And it's very, very obnoxious. Task hash, don't really care about that one. Task parameter sources, don't care about that one. So I believe we have, where are my extensions? There's a build logger. I have project build logging. Turn you on. Rebuild. Show me what's actually happening. Because you'll note some of these are design time builds. I do not care about design time builds. I only care about the real ones. So start with which projects in question here, right? So the first thing I'm noticing that's pretty cool is that this thing knows about the generator project and knows that on a rebuild for generator test that it has to rebuild the generator itself, which is pretty slick. And then this guy here knows to go through and do the build. We'll be interested to look at the build times to see, because I'd love to try this with both before and after the generator. Okay, so there's that. All right, so we dive in here, and I want to see. Oh, this is interesting. Where's the XAML compile step? Before rebuild, before clean, core clean, resolve, assign. Oh, this is before build, get framework, prepare for build before resolve references, resolve project references, SDKs, yada, yada, yada. Markup compile pass. This is what's bitten me before. Right? Is this guy get shelled out? Well, I guess this is main resource generation. Oh. Task resource generator. What do you do? What is your quest? This might just be the XAML resources. I'm expression build extensions. Add XAML build tasks. Blah blah blah. Okay. Get API host. For anybody who is interested, in particular, the extension that I'm partying on right now is this project system tools. Wonderful, wonderful extension for debugging MS Build. So John, the short version is C#, the newest upcoming version, has a preview feature that lets you generate code. And I want to generate code. And it's not working. And I'm sad. And source generator is supposed to make you do this. But they're making me do this. Which is disappointing. And unfortunately, I don't know exactly where in the magical call stack stuff this is supposed to occur. Because somewhere in here, this guy picks up check for underflow, blah, blah, blah. Somewhere in here, this guy picks up a whole bunch of stuff. Ooh, sources. See, this is what I'm interested in seeing. Right? So okay. So this is what's interesting, right? So here we get down to the CSC call, right? This is the actual compiler. And the compiler gets fed a bunch of information. Most notably all of this. And I see nothing in here that would auto-gen from the generator. Okay, so here's what I'm now interested in. I want to go back here, and I want to see what the heck you do when I kick this off. Right, so down here, I should have, so once again, it knows to rebuild the generator project before the console one. Then it kicks off the console one. So we're going to close, I got too much stuff open. Okay, so I want to look at that same CSC, right? And I want to see what exactly this thing is passing, because I'd like to think that at some point this guy's got to do the same exact thing, right? But the difference is this one worked. So CSC, and I want to see what did we pass. Oh, interesting. So it's not, huh? Oh, it goes through as an analyzer. Interesting. Okay. So somehow, because, and that, okay, that would explain the Roslyn types. So we build something out with, built on top of the Roslyn types, which is how we get the syntax tree. It's passed through to CSC as an analyzer. The DLL is. I'm guessing it must just then go hunting through for things that derive from source generator and or have this attribute. Both, maybe. Place this attribute onto a type to cause it to be considered a source generator. Oh, that's pretty clear. And then, yeah, the base interface required to implement a source generator. So I think this is just to make sure, to keep you on the straight and narrow, and this is what it's probably hunting for. Which makes sense, which is pretty cool. So that means that as it's running, it considers the generators, lets them execute, and more importantly, the key part is the API on this context then, right? So this context, because you can add sources, let you pass something back through that would get added to the syntax tree and ultimately compiled. That's pretty slick. I like that. I like that a lot. Oh, you could even use these to report diagnostics. Oh, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I wonder if you would ever care about that over just using... I wonder when you would use that over an analyzer. I suppose if your generator had problems, like for whatever you're generating, right? There's some issue you run into and you can't continue generation. You probably want to report that back. That makes sense. So the problem I have, though, is I really want to see this thing. Thank you. I feel like I need the good luck tonight. This is one of those areas where it's confusing enough that I'm not 100% confident of what I'm doing here because this is all brand new stuff. So let's just check real quick, right? Did this thing pass the same analyzer through? Okay, so this thing's passing the analyzer in both cases. So we get to this point, we pass through CSC. John, the moment they get to that point, I will be out of a job. I am noticing something, though. This thing claims to have built. Right? This thing... Oh. It claims to have built because this thing isn't here. Which I think then begs the question. Is this thing expected to generate any output? I don't know if that's actually helpful. Right? I don't think that is overly helpful to have that information. That would be nice if that would go there, but So, okay, so let's... Because this is the build from the... Yeah, so I want to look at... So this guy is squawking about not being able to... Or this guy has hello world, because this is the build from the console app, right? Yeah. Console app 1 exe. I get it. That built, that has it. So then what's different about this? Right? This should be no different. I am curious. Okay, so we're going to do one teensy-weensy little different thing, right? I'm going to move this guy into its own class. My stuff, right? So if I put you here, right? I'm just wondering if there's something about the generated code being inside of the backing class, right? And if that's a problem. All right. So let's give that a shot and see what happens. Because I am curious if there is something about that. It bothers me that my error list says none and my output says failed. I realize I'm on a preview Visual Studio, but that feels like a bug to me. It shouldn't lie to me. When this says 0 errors, 0 warnings, right? This feels like something that's somewhat misleading. Right? Fine, we'll get rid of the string args. Quit your belly aching. Right? Rebuild failed, and it's squawking about this line here, saying it cannot find it, but it's there. So let's hypothetically try this. Namespace. We're just gonna do this, right? Boom. Hello world generated. Public class. Hello world. Right? So I'm basically trying to blow up CSC in a very different way. Right? Public static void say hello. Console write line. Yep. Shouldn't get here. Right? Because this should cause a conflict. If I have this guy here, should conflict with the generated one. So I'm trying to get it to error in the other way, because it seems like the generator's not running. See, you now claim there's an error there. See, now we're having, this. See, this is what's bothering me is, okay, so we agree it's trying to generate. Build logging. Clear. Build, right? I want to see this guy's output, because I am not convinced that this guy is blowing up in the same spot. Right? Core compile. Task CSC. Parameters. This guy gets passed. There's the analyzer. All that jazz, right? Okay. So that's where this one blows up. So if we get rid of this guy, right, and put back this, and then we build again, right? It claims that's a problem. Right, so we got another failure. Yeah, so this one's, this is very much a catch-22. Right, so generate temporary target assembly. You're killing me, Smalls. You're killing me. You're really killing me. I don't think it works with the new WPF stuff. It's interesting, the generated code files. This guy goes to compile. And he's not passing through the right stuff. Okay, so I guess the question is, how deep do I want to go? How far do we chase this rabbit? Let's chase it a little further, right? I'm very curious. So properties window, give me my information. Let's run this guy down. So this guy lives in this file. So open the file, please. All right. So here is where we came from. So for people who are unfamiliar with MS Build stuff, when you make a project file, the very fact that you put something like this right at the top automatically brings in a bunch of targets files that know how to compile this SDK, right? In this case, WPF. So somewhere in that food chain of targets files and props files, we got to this one. Don't really know where, don't really want to waste my time figuring out where it came from. But what I do know for certain is that somewhere in here, there's a task called generate temporary target assembly, right? That's the key bit. So we're going to go hunting for that. That is not the search button. Generate temporary target assembly. That's the guy. Okay, there's our target. So what does this guy do? So when this guy gets invoked, requires MC pass 2 for main assembly. So this guy only fires when this guy gets set to true. I'm sure this guy's getting set to true for some reason that baffles the imagination, right? Well, let's look. Maybe we can find out. Is that guy set to true? He defaults to false, so that's interesting. He does get set based upon this markup compile pass 1. And we could cheat, right? Like I could cheat and I could inject something that goes and sets it back to false. What could go wrong by doing that? There's probably a good reason for it. I'm tempted to not do that. Okay, so there's that, output. Okay. And so markup compile pass 2 for main assembly, but that's not the one. This is the one that we care about. All right, so this, it's got an output message. So if we had set our MS Build verbosity to verbose rather than detailed, we'd probably see MS Build project file is blah. Great. We then invoke this guy. So generate temporary target assembly. It takes in a bunch of stuff, and this is where I think we're going to have the problem, right? I think, based upon whatever this guy is doing, he's what's blowing up. He's doing some sort of processing, right? Because he took in just this much information. The key bit here is he did not pick up the analyzer, so he knows nothing of it, and so that doesn't pass all the way through. And I'm kind of wondering if I could cheat. So let's take a look at what this is actually doing. So if we grab you, right? So generate blah blah blah. I'm assuming this guy. How do I know what assembly you're in? I would really, really like to know your assembly. Open containing folder. Because you're usually right alongside. Windows desktop targets. Yeah, so I'm guessing there's your SDK reference, and I'm guessing this guy must reference this guy. Gonna go out on a limb here. We can probably confirm that real quick. Sorry, what was the name of that file? WinFX targets. WinFX. Look at that. Boom. So should be picking up this guy by setting the SDK. This guy references the Microsoft WinFX targets, gets us into here. This guy has a bunch of targets that all depend on each other. MS Build builds up its dependency tree and then runs through them. And that is how all of the magic works. The question being, why? Right? This guy, so there's some placeholder targets here. Usually those are injection points. That's your first markup compile pass. Sorry, I'm just kind of scanning this to see. I was really hoping it would tell me the assembly that it's in. I'm wondering if that is the fact that it's not tells me something in and of itself. Right? So if we do temporary target assembly, GC collect every other line of code, right? I hope not. I don't know. What is that in reference to, Big Show Kong? This guy, I really would like to know his assembly that he's in, because I'd really like to take and pop. Ah, I gotcha. Yeah, I'm trying to decide whether this is just a give up point, or whether, because I mean I could give up, submit feedback, and say appears to be broken for WPF, to which I'm guessing the answer will be it's a preview build, we're working on it, which is a fair answer, right? Just really disappointed. I could get it working. Could I get it working? Well, we'll see here. Assembly name, build engine. I'm just wondering if there is a way to bypass, and if this guy has enough. I guess this is enough information, right? MS Build task windows, right? This tells me where it is. I really want to know what this guy's doing. Microsoft Build task windows. Let's go get him. Microsoft Build task. What are you in? Oh. Yeah, there we go. That assembly. I want that assembly, please. Show me where you are. Oh, there's only a couple of them. Excellent. Show me, it's probably going to be in one of the newer ones. Which one is it likely resolving to? SDK, boy, probably the core version, I'm guessing, in the 5.0 SDK. Okay, DN Spy, everyone's favorite fun toy. Let's go look at their source code, because why not? Boom. Okay, so inside of here, I am looking for Microsoft Build Task Windows. Microsoft Build Task Windows. Great. Generate temporary target assembly. Boy, that is really small font. Be big. Be big. Go easy. Okay, so what exactly do you do? So for anybody who hasn't done it before, you can build your own MS Build tasks. The key part is referencing the appropriate MS Build NuGet packages deriving from task. And in short, you end up with an execute method that you can pretty much do whatever you wanted. And you can pass stuff through. The key part, though, is you can't get yourself right in the middle of the compile process, which is what these source generators are allowing. You either have to come in before or after, but you can't get right in the middle. And right now, the show me the XAML cheats and goes in before, right? It just blindly assumes that the XML is going to be valid XML and runs. And so it's a wasted run if it's bad XML, but how often does that happen? Let's see. So I'm curious what this guy ultimately ends up doing. So this guy takes in information, current project, remove items, load items, right? Saves the project. Oh no. Oh no. So what we are trying to accomplish here is, so I'll drop this link back in chat, is I'm playing with the new source generators. And what I was hoping to do is I've got a show me the XAML project, which is what ultimately is used to generate this stuff, right? And right now it does it with an MS Build task that parses your XAML pre-compile and generates up some C#. And I was really hoping to get rid of my MS Build task altogether and leverage the source generators to parse the XML files to generate this up. The problem that I'm currently facing is that on the build of the WPF project with the source generator, because I haven't even gotten to doing the fancy processing yet. I've just literally taken their same sample right off of that just generates hello world. And we're failing to compile. Like I've just dumped their stuff into my own class straight up here. Because the build process for WPF is a 2-pass thing. Did I close it? Where'd it go? Oh, did I close it? No, there we go. One of these guys. So that one's a success, which is clearly not the one I care about. Success, no one cares about you. Go away, go away. But this guy here, so when you go to compile the WPF project, before you even get down to the actual compile step, it does this generate target assembly, and this is what's failing. Now, this down here is what we would expect. So instead of writing static strings of usage components, you want the program to read its own XAML to show the usage. Yes. And technically, that much is working. The reading its own XAML to show its usage. But it's working with an MS Build task, and I'd really like to not use my own custom MS Build task and instead use the new source generators because they're cool, new, and shiny. And this was my excuse to learn them. But it appears that this guy here, it takes in the project file, which I think we can probably see in these logs, is if I look in current project, what is the, I wish you wouldn't collapse on me, is it passes through the CS proj, so the generator.test is a WPF project, not a unit test project. Naming's just misleading. Right? So it passes through this CS proj. That's what the current project that it gets. It loads it up. It strips some items out of the CS proj, adds some new items in for the reference pass, and does this just to generate this temp assembly, right? And then more importantly, it uses the build engine and calls build project file on it, right? And triggers a rebuild. This is mildly obnoxious to me because it's blowing up. This build then for this CS proj doesn't have the needed analyzer reference, because on an appropriate compile, what this should look like, core compile, is this analyzer should get passed through to it. But clearly, that's not going to get set as an analyzer. And I don't know if there's a good fix for this aside from changing this, aside from literally being able to change this guy here. I don't think I've got a good fix for this, because I would have to bypass this build step. So, in the interest of just being abusive and trying to see this thing work, let's just see if we can turn that guy off. Right? So, target, name, disable second compile. Right? So we're going to have a target. We're going to have him come after targets, and we will just inject him. So we actually want to be before this. So we want to make sure we run before this guy. But we want to, because this guy has a condition on him, right? He's looking for this guy to be true. Now, I don't know what's going to break when we turn this thing off, but it's probably not going to be happy. So we want to run after markup compile pass 1, but before that guy. And then we want to just change the value of that, because what could go wrong, right? So property group, or actually I think I got to set this as an output, don't I? I think we got to set this guy up as an output. So what could go wrong with turning this off? And I believe you, my friend, have value, or what is on here? Output property name. Why am I getting no? Can I just? I don't quite remember the syntax. Can I just do this? Is that legit? Reload. The fact that it's asking for the reload makes me suspect. Thank you, Nick. Clearly that's not the right syntax. Yeah, text underneath element output is unrecognized. Okay, fine. I will not put text underneath output. Fine. I understand. You want to be self-closed. I'm going to have to look this up. So let's see. MS build set property on in task. Oh, it's probably, I bet you it's as simple as just doing a property group and being done with it. Property group, boom, boom, boom. And then false. Okay, reload. Yep. Dependency is confused and broken, and we're going to just rebuild. Again, not 100% sure what's going to happen by manually turning that thing off. There's a very good chance that this is going to just blow up in my face, because I've just taken a step that WPF thinks is important and said, off. That's a good way to break stuff. Hey, look! Rebuild successful! Because as everyone knows, that's the definition. Okay. So that'll compile now. Sorry, I almost don't believe it. I kind of want to rebuild this. Yeah, exactly. Works on my box. I'm done. Note, I haven't actually started the app yet. I'm somewhat terrified that the moment I hit F5, this thing's just going to blow up. Okay, I kind of, I just, I almost don't believe you. Uh, that was almost too easy of a hack. So markup compile pass 1, disable second compile. Markup compile pass. I'm looking for that generate temporary assembly because I expect it to be grayed out. These are all the tasks that get ignored. Where? I don't see you. See, where were you? After markup compile pass. So it comes directly after markup compile pass 1. Okay, I know I saw that in here. Markup compile pass 1. Huh. So maybe this guy doesn't show things that get disabled. A little curious what these ones are. The gray ones could be the ones that get skipped, because if you set inputs and outputs on your targets, it'll only run them if your inputs have changed, because it then knows about it. So it must just disable it. Sure. So okay. So now that is working, right? We're gonna move this. Let's put this over to where we can actually execute it, right? Boom, boom, boom. Some method I have. Boom, boom, boom. So, and we're gonna get a breakpoint, and what could go wrong? No way this is about to blow up. So launch. Cannot locate main window.xaml. Okay, so clearly this turning those things off causes main window XAML to not get executed, which kind of makes sense, right? We turned off the generation of the XAML stuff, so the fact that it couldn't find main window.xaml is somewhat to be expected. But I still want to see this thing work, so I'll just go before main window.xaml, right? And I will just grab it straight from app, because before it even gets around to doing that and calling app.start, it has to instantiate. So try that first. Come on. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Yeah. It works. For loose definitions of the word works, but it works. Why do I not have an output window? I know I'm in a brand new version of Visual Studio, but hey, gotta rearrange all the things. Okay, so you should have something to generate. Debug. Oh, that's right. WPF generates. So I think you get asked this a lot, but what do you think about WPF's future? So that is a complicated question with a not so simple answer. So the short version is, I think WPF is going to be here to stay for a very, very long time. WinForms came out long before WPF. WPF was supposed to replace it, and WinForms is still, don't quote me on this, but I believe the largest desktop framework out there. Largely it was first to market, had the most reasonable editor, yada, 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 all kinds of reasons, right? But it's still even more popular than WPF today. UWP came out, and it was supposed to replace WPF. And the usage numbers show that it really hasn't. So in that regard, I think, from my perspective, I think WPF is the best of all worlds, right? You can, when UWP came out, it wasn't at feature parity, so a lot of people kind of got burned. They renamed, retooled, WinUI, all kinds of other fun stuff. And so it's gotten very, very good. but there's still a lot of people with uh, there's still a lot of people with WPF code. No, WPF is supported in .NET 5 at a bare minimum. So this project that I've generated is actually a WPF project in .NET 5. So there is so I will say this: I have heard no plans of them obsoleting or sunsetting WPF. It's going away nowhere. They open sourced it on GitHub. There's been so-so traction because they open sourced both WinForms and WPF. And they've started doing work. The WinForms guys have gone crazy and are like orders of magnitude more pull requests in than WPF. But WPF is by far not going away. There is talk of WinUI 3 and what that means with the hopeful kind of like, again, it's sort of being propped up as the same type of thing as what UWP was, where it's the end all, the great solution for here's the new UI framework that we're going to build everything in, right? But I think time will have to tell on that. I am in no way moving away my WPF apps to anything yet, because as far as I've seen, there's not anything I like quite as much, right? There's stuff like the Uno project, which is really great if you're building cross-platform stuff, but they still have limitations of trying to support all the things. I believe I saw a tweet today because WinUI 2.4, 2.6, something in that range just dropped, and Uno already has support for it. And they've got a lot of stuff for supporting styles and whatnot. For my material design project, yeah, Electron all the time. And that's the thing, right? Like, I think the decision, because people will ask me, should I build in WPF? And it's like, that's not a simple answer. Like, your team's skill set matters a lot. I build in WPF because I can build very quickly in WPF. I've got a lot of experience. I can crank stuff out. But if I were to walk into a team that has a bunch of web experience, I don't know if I would necessarily recommend that the team go with WPF if cross-platform is a desired feature, right? Like there's a lot of concerns to go in there because there's several XAML frameworks out there at this point as well. So even just XAML isn't a given because there's Uno, Xamarin Forms, and then all the UWP stuff on top of WPF for all kind of your different flavors of XAML. So I would say the future of WPF is not being sunsetted. I would not look at it as going away by any stretch of the imagination. It is still being supported. They're still actively adding stuff to it. When they open sourced it, there was plans of saying, okay, we're open sourcing it so that we can update faster, so that we're not tied to the framework, so we can put stuff out quicker, which again is great. It's like, just I want to see that. So there's all these great promises and things that sound really cool that hopefully are going to come to pass. But in the meantime, I'm not willing to jump ship to anything else because WPF has been around for, what did it come out in 2006? Does that make it 14 years old now? Something like that. And it's very stable, and there's lots of information on it, lots of third-party libraries. And again, I wouldn't move away. And they did port everything to .NET Core as well, which is what everything's going to. Like there's .NET 5, you'll hear people call it as the merging of all of the .NETs coming together. But this moniker here kind of says it all, right? In reality, it's .NET Core is moving to 5 as its next version, and then .NET Framework is being sunsetted. So if you're on WPF .NET Framework, be aware that the framework is being sunsetted, not necessarily WPF. And it's not like it's going away anytime soon. You can look up the end of life dates. They're out years. I don't remember how far. Usually they support stuff for, 10 years after the operating system was launched, or it's something ridiculous. And even like XP, they supported well beyond what they said they were going to. So that is a very long answer. I hope that sort of kind of helped with. So again, it's not, I would say WPF future is bright. I'm not moving away from it. I still think it's worth building in. Yeah, and jumping from .WPF .NET Framework to .NET 5 or even .NET Core 3.1 is not hard, right? The big risk factor is usually in your third-party dependencies of what of those are core compatible. But if you just have a straight project you've built yourself, you're good to go. If you're built on top of Ma apps or Material Design and XAML, you're core compatible too. So huzzah! So Ma apps, you do have to go to their preview package, but their 2.0 releases are .NET Core, and I've been building compatibility stuff for the Ma apps 2.0 stuff for months, and it is, aside from them kind of making breaking changes, the stuff's pretty stable. Once you build against it, you're good. Okay, so short version is this guy actually works now. Well, so he works. But what I want to see now, Telerik also has .NET Core WPF support. Yeah, and I believe most of the big third-party control and theme providers have migrated at this point, right? Because once they said that they were going to support WPF and WinForms on .NET Core, everybody who had money to be made by jumping there jumped immediately. Because nothing says you're getting dropped quicker than saying, yeah, we don't want to support Microsoft's latest stuff. And it really, like, especially with .NET Core 3, the only realistic APIs that people are probably referencing that I've come across are app domains. And usually that's for some sort of like plugin type style that you've built out. App domains are gone. But what does exist in its place is assembly load contexts, which are actually easier to work with. It means you have to change your code, but the APIs and the stuff that you're building is much, much simpler. So, okay, so I want to change this guy up a little bit. So I want this to be a debug write line, a debug write line, and a debug write line, because I'm pretty sure that my console write lines are being swallowed, and I believe I actually need this generated part of it too, right? So we're going to do that. We're going to build this, and I can't figure out if it's, because it's passing the assembly or the compiled assembly, I don't think I should have to restart Visual Studio. I think it should just work. So we're going to just hit go and see what happens. Because I'd really love to be able to confirm that I am getting the XAML files passed through to my source generator, because then I just copy and paste the stuff out of my MS Build task and I'm done. Okay, so say hello. There we go. There we go. Hello from generated code. Boom. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, so aside from the fact that we can't get source generators and WPF compilation working together, we're doing great. So besides that minor detail, minor itty bitty detail. Okay, so that's pretty slick. So if that's the case, let's come over here. Let's grab my MS Build code. And well, let's start with this, right? I want to confirm what is. Let's get inside of here, right? I want to confirm the extra files that are actually part of this. So for each var extra file in context, additional files, great. Probably misnamed that, whatever. Use explicit type. Thanks. Oh, that's interesting. I just noticed resharper triggered. I thought I had removed resharper, which is why that is surprising me. Okay, so we need to go through and do something like source builder, append line, and we're going to do a debug write line, and inside of here, let's do a extra file, and what, yeah, path will work. Not that. So if we put, let's do this. So so here's the fun part, right? Like this needs to generate a string, so I need that to be a string, that to be a string. Ay, ay, ay. The escaping here is starting to get fun. So we do that. Hey, Alan. Welcome. We're just having fun with the C#5 source generators. So this is what we're playing with. We're trying to make it work inside of a .NET Core WPF app, which has been proven to be very difficult. And I don't think it's all my fault. We put in a hack. We're working with a hack. Okay, so this guy here will generate a debug write line with a quote, then the file path, then a close quote. Okay. Something I did not realize with C#8, so the actual released version, is you can do this. You can reverse the order of the @ and the $sign. And both work now. It's the little things, right? I just thought that I had gotten good at remembering the order. Turns out the compiler team had just realized, no, Kevin, you can't type. So we're going to make it easier for you and let your mistypes work, which is great. I appreciate that. Okay, so if that now is there, so we'll build the generator. Then we'll run our WPF1, and what I'd really want to see is file paths to app.xaml and main-window.xaml. That's what I want to see. Okay, and we should just put our breakpoint after the write line rather than before. Boom. So this generated the following syntax trees exists. Oh, so it didn't. That's not a good sign. That could mean that XAML files aren't getting passed through here, which would limit my ability to do what I want to do. Because if the XAML files don't get passed, that would be a problem. That would be additional files. We're just going to do that real quick. Oh, hang on. I'm surprised that worked, given that I forgot my semicolons. Little surprised. We're gonna just rebuild the things real quick. Just hypothetical, which is why we added this in, right? Is I want to prove that my change is actually being executed. And additional files. Additional files has all of the C# files. Well, that's just yucky. So I mean, we could make this work, right? Like I could make this. I could make the sweeping assumption that I just iterate through these, find anything that ends in .xaml.cs, and I just look for a XAML file that correlates to it. But this would also make me a little fearful if I have any XAML files without because chasing them based on their backing CS file isn't a guarantee. I mean, it works in most cases. Does it work in all? I'm trying to think of how I could get a XAML file without a backing C# file. Oh, resource dictionary. That's a good one. Resource dictionary would break it. Ooh. Let's see. MS build workspace. Create a new build workspace. Open solution. Let's see. Iterate over the project references. Custom MS build, but you can add whatever analyzers you want. Yeah. Yes, I agree. And I've actually built something like this similar in the past. So I teach at a local university, and one of the things we have is I'll call it a grading helper that takes the student submissions, loads their projects into a workspace like this, applies a bunch of custom analyzers that we have for helping us grade, and then runs it through there, and then auto comments on the pull request based on the warnings and errors that come out of the analyzers. So it lets us write custom stuff to automatically grade stuff, or at least significantly cut down on it. The problem that I have though is this source generator doesn't seem to want to work well with the WPF built-in build process, and I suspect that's probably just something that they haven't gotten to yet. I think, but yeah, something like that. Let me just paste this in. Copy. Let's see here. If we go over here, because this guy has most of the stuff, right? So, KD. You probably have all the needed NuGet references for this. Using link, sure. Oh, I'm probably missing the workspace NuGet package for that, because I know there's a separate NuGet package for all of the different ones. Yeah, so load the solution file, grab the original, grab the project references, new solution file last, add project reference, new solution, try apply changes. Yeah, no, this is very similar to I think how we were building ours up, because they just recently fixed MS Build Workspace to work cross-plat, I believe is what I saw. Assuming you have the, what was it, the VSWare is tool installed, which is what it uses to look up where MS Build is. Okay, so the short version is I may not be able to even do this due to the additional files not being present. What else is on context? And actually, let's do this. Let's just prove out the failure case, right? So if I do a new resource dictionary, find me, right? This guy here. So XAML file, no C# backing. That's the kicker, right? And so we'll do a solid color brush with the color red. No, fuchsia is always the color, right? X key, my color, great. So if we come over to main window, come up here, window resources, grab that guy, resource dictionary, source, find me, .xaml, alright, and then this should be able to let me set my background, static resource, my color, right, boom. And I'm fairly confident what's going to happen is when I run this, I am not going to get anything that would let me find this. Which leads me with a lot of bad choices left over, right? Because it means I can't actually use this to replace my tool, which would be very, very sad. Let's see, app. Yeah, so there's nothing in the additional files. The following syntax trees existed. Additional files. Yeah, so there is nothing there. That is disappointing. I think that might be the nail in the coffin on this guy, is there is no way to get that included. Unless, of course, I knew what they were using to build this up with. So, hypothetically, let's just change the type of this, right, to, let's make it content, right? Like, I fully expect this to botch the build, though, right, if I do that? I think so. If I change it off a page, it's no longer compiled in. Well, seems to be fine, and we're running before it actually would load it, so let's see what happens. Still not there. So let's, well, while we're breaking stuff, rather than content, let's go through and just say that it is, well, C# compiler should almost guarantee that it gets passed through. I would hope. Because at that point, we're no longer treating it as a, yeah, you'll notice the icon is Confused, yeah, and it's now very, very confused. If I set it to application, I'm just trying to figure out, maybe none might be the next one to try. Oh, C# analyzer additional file. Well, that sounds like something that might show up in the additional files section. Who would have thunk? Right? So if we do that, oh, that gives me an idea. Unrecognized escape sequence. Huh? An error occurred trying to find resource. Yeah, so I'm going to go with this is now a problem. But less concerned with this at the moment. Let's just see. If I turn that off. Unrecognized escape sequence. Why are you now blowing up? Hello generator line 13. Which is... I love that they give me the line number. Let's see. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13? Maybe? It's either this one or this one. Oh, unrecognized escape sequence. It's now... Oh, I bet you this guy has backslashes in it. Okay. Easiest way to do this. Replace... let's do... If you have a backslash, just blindly replace to a /. What are you squawking about? Oh, in fact, that's a period, not a comma, maybe? Unexpected token. Oh, because you're inside of a... I think it's the string interpolation that's getting very, very confused. Nope, it's the backtick that is escaping following single quote. Okay, so try that for now. Build that guy. I'm only manually building these because I don't trust what I was seeing. So let's take a look at this. Because if this lets me pass it through, which it seems like it's going to, look at that. That now gives it to me. Okay, so if that's the case, I'm wondering, so one, I take this out, right? And this guy should go back immediately. Oh. So we don't want to remove it from the page group, right? We want it to be treated as a page. So now it shows up. If we look at its properties, it shows here. I'm sort of curious if I can just do something crazy like glob that guy in. It seems like it's probably going to break because I've now included it in a second thing. And it's clearly dropped out of my Solution Explorer, so this makes it very unhappy. Right? So if I just do this, right, does it come back? Find it? Yes, it does. Because now Find Me is now considered a page, so it shows back up in my Solution Explorer. And that guy doesn't disappear. But if I do this, Find Me's still there. Yeah, I'm wondering if I could get away with this, because if I could tack something like this into the MS Build pipeline, I could distribute this as a targets file inside of a NuGet. So let's give that a shot, because that would let me use MS Build to hunt all my XAML files and magically include them. Look at that. Got him. Okay, we can probably get even fancier with this then. So I would think that rather than just hunting this, I should be able to, what is it, @ symbol, pick up all of my pages. This project is an abomination. Yeah, there's a few things that I may have done that are slightly abusive. Very, very, very abusive. But a lot of times if I can get away with this by, look at that. Look at that. I can concatenate the groups. Ooh la la, that makes me happy. So if I could do that, I think that means I can also do, so we're clearly missing app.xaml because he has a different type, application definition, right? So I don't remember what the name of this is, but if I change the drop down to, I don't know, none, right? It's probably unhappy about this here. Comment that out real quick. Properties, C# analyzer additional file, right? So if I do this, save. Why do you no change? Show me your change. Show me your change. Just want to know what you are. I don't remember what the grouping thingy is for you. Reset to default. That's mean, guys. That's mean. Don't do that to me. Don't do that to me. So this guy thinks he's being picked up as that already. Okay, so let's comment this out so I can actually see his group. Let's just, so one, there is a negative, oh, nope, not what I wanted. There's a negative bit in that this is changing. Hey, Shan. There is definitely, so app.xaml counts as a page. Was it in my output and I was just too dumb to see it? No. You were set to not a page, right? You were application definition. That's what you were, right? That's what you are. Don't get confused. Bad WPF, right? But I think what I can do is this, right? I can do this, I can do this, and I can say grab all of my application definitions and tack them into this group too. Reload all. Uh-oh. Whale that. Oh, right, okay. Fine. We'll build them up this way. We'll do this. I apparently whacked my item group, paste it in, and then this guy here becomes application definition. Now reload the project. Okay, so let's take a little look. Because I don't think I'm going to actually spend the time to implement this. Yeah, so this goes through here. So now I'm picking up all of the things, which is great. So short version is the only way to get source generators to do what I want is to do really, really bad things to my project file. And more importantly, .NET Core WPF projects appear broken in the current preview. So that's a bad thing. Well, but on one hand, it does make me feel happy about source generators. Like I said, the next one that I think I would probably want to write, if assuming it's not in their samples already, is just one that does iNotify property changed for you. Because there's no reason that you couldn't build that out fairly easily. The only question is, what would you want to decorate a property with to know that it should be the iNotify property changed stuff, right? Because what you could do is you could just hunt all classes that derive from iNotify property change that are partials and generate another file. That's the other partial that implements the iNotify property change part. Which is probably not a bad idea. I kind of like that now that I think about it. That will Do undo, redo. Oh, that's interesting. That's a very interesting idea. A decorator for properties that will do undo, redo. I could see that being fun, especially for something, especially if I could decorate them on like a dependency property, because that would get really interesting wiring up to the dependency property changed events and storing them in a stack for that. That'd be kind of cool. That would be kind of cool. Yeah, so that they do have a few samples out here. So let's before I get it, because I'm coming up on being done in probably the next 10 minutes. But before I get that far, let's take a quick look, because there was that cookbook or the samples that they had. Where was that? Where was that? Let's see. ReSharper. Source Generators Cookbook. What all do you have in here? Full design document. Ooh, so maybe I should read this. I'll leave that for later. A little light reading before bed. Because who doesn't love reading design documents? So generated class. Okay, so yeah, so this is similar to the iNotify property changed idea, right? You hunt out partial and generate something. So generate this out. Yeah, that is true. Though I will say this, the Microsoft guys have been doing a remarkably good job on their documentation. Just the fact that they open sourced it, and they are very quick to, or I should say, they're usually very quick to respond to issues and pull requests on the doc stuff is really, really useful. Like, yeah, so anything under docs.microsoft.com, they're usually very good about. I've gotten a bunch of stuff in there and fixed. The only time things get slow is a lot of times if you make like technical comments of this is technically wrong. The person, the writer has to then go find somebody from that particular development team, and sometimes that cycle isn't always fast. Because usually they have to have somebody, technical on whatever the area is, review it and make sure it's correct. So transform an external non-C# file into an equivalent C# representation. Oh, that is scary. My XML to C# compiler. Ooh, boy. Though, okay, so this sounds bad, right? Like taking an XML file and generating C# out of it. But I can see a lot of really good usage for this. Like I can see generators for a lot of, so serializer situations are obvious. But I've seen a lot of cases where people want effectively to build their own cross-plat stuff. Imagine, if you will, taking a Java code base and running it through one of these suckers. Not saying you should do that, but imagine doing it. Because that could get interesting fast. Because we just showed how you can tack in any file that you want into this additional files. So you could glob on, .java files in a particular directory and go to town, which could be really interesting. Again, not suggesting somebody do it, but it's an interesting idea. I want to inspect and augment a user's code with new functionality. I get this generated method. So this is interesting. So generating a partial class. Yeah, so a lot of these generator cases really are going to rely on partials. Right? Because partials have been around and I don't feel like they get used enough. Right? Like there's a lot of tools that leverage them. Like for WPF, for example, right? Like the code behinds are generated partial because you've got XAML generating the other half. But a lot of times people don't necessarily realize it. I suppose that's the mark of a good implement. Oh, look. They've already done the iNotify property change for me. How lovely. So you decorate it. Oh, dear heavens. So they did an attribute on the field, and they're going to generate out the property. Oh, they haven't actually written it. The generator could produce the following. And this is why I wonder if maybe they're aware of some of these XAML cases that aren't going to work. Because I would be curious if somebody wrote this with the generator and what we just saw, if it would work with like the UWP XBind stuff. Because that wants to know at compile time if it's there. Yeah, because you could generate this out. I will point out that this is the wrong implementation. You should not raise this event unless these values are different. So, bad iNotify property change implementation. But, proof of concept example, it's PowerPoint level quality. Good enough. Participate in the IDE experience. Not implemented. That's a good... What was this one listed as? Didn't have that. Regenerate code as the user is editing files. Let's see. We expect there to be an opt-in set of interactive callbacks that can be implemented to allow for progressively more complex generation strategies. Ooh. Ooh, that's cool. See, now this makes me really excited because that would be something fun to build. Just out of curiosity, for people listening to the audio, is my audio occasionally just like dropping mid-syllable? Because I don't know if it's because I switched which OBS I was using, and I'm not sure if this is just a new OBS, but occasionally I'm seeing my mic waveform bar just flatline for half a second. Oh, no audio issues here. Good to know. I'll just assume that it's a GUI thing that it's flatlining on me. I was worried it was dropping it. Serialization, yeah. Serialization, dynamic analysis. See, this is one of those things where I can see it being really, really powerful. To some degree. Oh, thank you. Thank you for the subscribe. I apologize. I don't actually have the... Oh, shoot. Because I just switched my OBS, I don't have my little subscribe thing tied in here yet. But I do appreciate it. The protocol buffers does a similar mechanism, right? Like you write a .proto file, I believe, and it'll generate out the server and client code for you. So effectively doing something similar to this, right? Where it goes to and does it. Jerry's fools. I'll get you next time. I don't recognize the Twitch handle. Have we met? I apologize for asking that question. Oh, hey, Sean. Yeah. So having something like this in a more generic thing rather than being tied to like protocol buffers is definitely really cool. I could see that being. Yeah. Obviously, this is highly simplified. Yeah, but that's okay. That's okay. I don't mind simplification. It's one of those, I think Microsoft is well aware that people are going to do a lot more interesting stuff than what they come up with. Auto interface implementation. Yes! Oh boy. That one would be an interesting one to write. That would be interesting. How would you go about that? You know, you could go through and get really fancy. If the return type was void, you could actually implement it as a partial method. That would be kind of cool. I wonder, does that work? Or is that allowed? I don't actually remember. Can I implement public interface ifoo, right? Void bar. Can I implement this as a partial? I think you can, can't you? ifoo partial class, right? Can I do a partial method here? Let's see. So what is it? Partial void bar. Does that work? Or is it unhappy? Oh, so it doesn't quite work that way because it won't count as implementing the interface. Oh, wait, hold on. It's just saying it's not public. But I don't think I can specify. Can I get away with that? Yeah. Because if you generate the method partial, yeah, that kind of makes sense. Still, kind of cool. Kind of cool. Okay. Well, I am open for questions if anybody has any, but I think that's probably where I'm going to wrap up for tonight. So, in summary, I would say source generators are cool. I think they have a lot of potential. I may want to come back and revisit them after they actually get a little closer to GA or have more things specified. I'm probably going to go through and at least open a question with the team and see if there is any expectation of doing what I want with the XAML files, right? Like there's a very real chance that the answer is, you want to do what? No. Like that's a valid answer. I fully acknowledge that what I want to do is not the normal use case. But it feels really cool, right? So probably come back and revisit it at some point and see, because I would like to update this. It's always felt yucky to me to have this MS build task and then have to do reflection. It'd be nice to get around it. Write a WPF in PowerShell, right? Well, I've done that before. Yeah, there was actually, I'm trying to remember his name. There was a guy contributing to the material design library for a while because he was doing exactly that. And turns out, after we only had a couple bugs in regards to loading WPF up in PowerShell. And then it worked great. There was a few weird bits that we had in the library where we made ridiculous assumptions like we were inside of a WPF app. Horrible assumption, apparently. Turns out it's actually not that hard to break those bits of code. Surprisingly easy, in fact, which was a little bit scary. But yeah. So I do think this will be cool. Again, probably circle back around to it. For anybody who hasn't done so, I'm going to post this because this is important. This is important. Microsoft build, right? So for the first time, due to all of the virus stuff, Microsoft, yeah, just because you can doesn't mean you should. For the first time, Microsoft is making the build conference free. Okay, this is one like build and then followed up closely by like Microsoft Ignite are probably their two biggest conferences, if not, yeah, pretty confident those are their two biggest conferences of the year. So the fact that this is going to be free this year, and then it doesn't matter what time zone you're in. I believe the plan, what did they say? There was something about, I believe, going through and restreaming things so you'll note there's a 10:15 Azure for every developer, and then a 12:15 restreaming these things at different hours of the day. So there's here. So they're trying to include as many people as possible and make it easier for people. So it is free. If you haven't signed up, I highly recommend that you do. Usually their build conference is where they announce all of the cool stuff coming. At a bare minimum, I would say sign up and at least go through and watch the keynotes, because they're always a great overview of, hey, what is all the cool stuff that's coming? But obviously the keynotes are limited time and they can't cover everything. And so there's always cool gems and whatnot that come out through the other sessions as the various teams get to share. So if you haven't done so, definitely go and register for Microsoft Build. I can tell you for certain there is some awesome stuff coming this year that I know that they are looking forward to announcing. So coming up in a couple weeks on the 19th and 20th, I think that's a Tuesday, Wednesday, middle of the week. Again, things are going to be restreamed at a lot of different hours, so no matter when your workday is or what time zone you're in, you hopefully can find time to do it. I suspect the recordings of a lot of these will be posted up on like their Channel 9 or YouTube after the fact. Don't quote me. Don't know that for sure. But I would suspect that they're going to all of this effort to make these, that they will probably distribute them as well. So I think with that, I'm going to say thank you very much. Thank you for everyone who joined in. And we will do this again. Have a good one.